A virus is a microscopic particle that can infect the cells of biological organisms like humans, animals, and bacteria. The evolution of a virus consists of the virus binding to a host cell. Once binding occurs, a virus fuses with the host cell, allowing the virus's RNA to infiltrate the cell and replicate the virus from within. Ebola is a rare but extremely deadly filovirus that is directly caused by the virulent pathogen filoviridae. Ebola has a high degree of transmissibility and is classified as one of the most lethal viruses on the planet as it has a fatality rate of 90%. The highly infectious virus first erupted in the Republic of Zaire in 1976, and while there are 6 strands of the virus, the strain with the highest fatality rate continues to be the first strain to be discovered, the Zaire Ebola virus. In 2014, the Zaire Ebola virus caused the most severe outbreak, causing extreme catastrophe through Western Africa and ultimately resulting in over 10,000 deaths. As of 2023, there is no cure or vaccine that 100% protects you from the virus. The most common symptoms of Ebola are headaches, muscle pain, sudden fevers, a sore throat, intense weakness, loss of appetite, and gastrointestinal symptoms in the abdominal region. Ebola can also cause unexplained hemorrhaging, bleeding, and/or bruising. Ebola is transmitted through direct contact with someone who is either currently infected with the virus or someone who has recently died from the virus. Transmission can also occur through contact with blood or body fluids like urine, saliva, sweat, feces, vomit, breast milk, and/or semen from a person who is sick or has died from the Ebola virus. Aside from transmission from other humans, the virus can be spread by infected fruit bats or primates like apes and monkeys, or raw meat prepared from unknown animals like bushmeat. Ebola has extremely detrimental effects on the immune system. Once transmitted, the virus targets a plethora of immune cells like the dendritic cells. The dendritic cells display signals of infection from their surface in order to activate T lymphocytes, or more commonly referred to as T cells. T cells are white blood cells that can destroy infected cells in an aim to prevent the Ebola virus from further replication. When the dendritic cells are defective, the T cells do not respond to the infection, as well as the antibodies, which are a type of specialized protein that bind very tightly to a very specific target. This is important due to the fact that if either the T cells or the antibodies are in a defective state, the virus will begin to replicate at a rapid rate and will begin to attack the body. As Ebola travels through the bloodstream, the virus produces inflammatory signaling proteins and nitric oxides, which severely damages the lining of blood vessels and ultimately causes them to leak. This leakage is referred to as hemorrhaging and is considered to be one of the main symptoms of Ebola, as the majority of patients will experience external hemorrhaging, including bleeding from the eyes, nose, or other parts. Additionally, as Ebola travels through the body, immune cells called macrophages will welcome the virus in. After infection occurs, the virus releases proteins that stimulate coagulation, forming small clots throughout the blood vessels and ultimately resulting in a reduction of blood flow to the organs. Although the virus is extremely dangerous because it directly impacts every part of the body, the virus has especially profound consequences on the liver. In the liver, Ebola entirely wipes out cells that are required to produce proteins and other important components of plasma. Crippled cells in the gastrointestinal tract lead to extreme dehydration, and in the adrenal gland, Ebola damages the cells that make steroids to regulate blood pressure, which ultimately causes circulatory failure that can starve organs of necessary oxygen. Seeing how Ebola can infect organs needed for everyday life, being educated and familiar with the dangers of what Ebola can do can lead to preventing widespread infection. Although the virus is extremely rare in the United States, individuals should be cognizant of what problems Ebola can cause, the mysteries Ebola brings, and the countermeasures to take when infected with the virus. Overall, there is extreme uncertainty surrounding the Ebola virus itself. Some of the problems that arise from the virus are ongoing changes that have new symptoms appearing in each outbreak. Due to the fact that Ebola and its symptoms are constantly evolving, scientists have not been able to keep up with the viral changes, thus resulting in a lack of a 100% effective vaccine. When people do get infected with the virus, it can be very lethal, as the average fatality rate is around 90%. In December of 2019, the CDC approved an Ebola vaccine called RVSV-Zabov that is said to be 97.5% effective according to the World Health Organization. Unfortunately, however, it is not proven to be effective when it comes to the long-term protection against the virus. Even so, the RVSV-Zabov vaccine is proven to prevent the spread of the virus. It is highly recommended to get the Ebola vaccine when it comes to preventing widespread infection. According to the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, for those residing in the United States, the Ebola vaccine is only recommended to those who are older than 18 or who are at a potential occupational risk of exposure to the virus. This recommendation is geared towards those who are 1. Responding or planning to respond to an Ebola virus outbreak, 2. Laboratorians working at biosafety facilities that work with live Ebola virus in the United States, or 3. Healthcare workers who work at federally designated Ebola treatment centers in the United States. Other ways in which you can prevent the spread of Ebola in its entirety is to efficiently quarantine infected individuals, avoid objects that they have been in contact with, and do not touch any of their personal belongings. Be sure to cover any wounds, cuts, or scrapes you may have on your body. Wash your hands thoroughly using soap and water always. Remember to be cognizant of the Ebola virus, as proper education regarding the virus and the proper steps to take when infected is the first step in preventing the spread.